What happens when two of music's biggest personalities collide live on television in a way nobody could have predicted? The moment Jason Aldean sat across from Kelly Clarkson on her daytime show, what was supposed to be a routine interview unraveled into an explosive confrontation that stunned audiences and dominated conversations for weeks. This wasn't just another celebrity interview gone sideways. This was deeper, a raw clash that revealed the simmering tensions lurking beneath the surface of the music industry. Make sure you subscribe and drop a comment, because this story has layers that will challenge everything you thought you knew. The Kelly Clarkson show was meant to be an easy promotional stop for Jason Aldean. He was there to highlight his latest album, maybe share some road stories, and engage in the usual lighthearted banter daytime viewers expect. Kelly had done this hundreds of times before, her warm personality and natural curiosity helping even the most guarded guests open up. But from the moment Jason walked on stage, something felt off. Jason Aldean, everybody. Kelly beamed with her signature enthusiasm, yet a subtle heaviness hung in the air. Jason smiled politely as he settled into his chair, but his posture was stiff, his presence edged with discomfort as if he'd come armed for something more than a friendly chat. Kelly started, simple. Your new album has been getting incredible feedback. The authenticity in your music is something fans really connect with. How important is it for you to stay true to your roots at this stage in your career? It was the sort of softball question that should have prompted an easy answer about humility and staying grounded. Instead, Jason leaned forward, his voice carrying an unexpected bite. Authenticity, that's an interesting word choice. See, I think a lot of people in this industry throw that word around without really understanding it. Real authenticity means standing by your principles even when it's not popular, even when people try to tear you down for it. The crowd chuckled lightly, unsure how to react. Kelly raised her eyebrows, her smile tightening. She stayed calm. That's absolutely true. And speaking of principles, your music has always celebrated small-town values. Traditional American life. Do you think there's room for different perspectives in country music today? Jason repeated her words slowly, almost tasting them. Different perspectives. That's exactly where we've gotten off track as a society. Country music has always been about certain values, certain ways of life. When you start turning it into something, it's not pushing agendas that go against its core. You're not doing country music anymore. The audience grew noticeably quieter. Kelly adjusted in her chair, realizing this wasn't the lighthearted segment she had prepared. She pressed on carefully. But music has always been about bringing people together. Your songs certainly do, that they resonate with folks from all walks of life, regardless of where they come from. Jason's laugh was sharp. Bringing people together, sure. But not by compromising everything you believe in. Not by bending over backwards to please everyone. Sometimes bringing people together means standing firm even if it makes some folks uncomfortable. Kelly's instincts told her Jason hadn't come just to promote his record. He'd come to make a point. She tried to steer things back. Music should always feel welcoming, and your fans certainly come from all walks of life, finding meaning in your work. Jason leaned in, his tone almost mocking. All walks of life. Kelly, can I ask you something? Do you even listen to country music, or are you just reading the talking points your producers wrote down for you? The remark landed like a slap. The audience gasped. Rarely had any guest come at Kelly so directly. She steadied herself. Of course, I listen to country music. I grew up in Texas. It was part of my childhood, just like it was for millions of others. That's why I believe it speaks across backgrounds and experiences. Jason sat back, eyes narrowing. Different backgrounds, different experiences. You keep coming back to that. So tell me, Kelly, what do you think country music is really about? Kelly knew it was a loaded trap, but she didn't flinch. Country music is about storytelling. It's about real life, love, loss, hard work, family, community. It's about being honest about who you are and where you come from. Jason smirked, his voice dripping with condescension. That's a nice textbook answer, but you're missing the heart of it. Country music isn't about just any story, it's about specific stories. It's about values and a way of life that's under attack every single day. Kelly felt her patience slipping. Under attack? By who? Jason. By fans who love the music but bring their own perspectives, by artists who want to expand what the genre can be, by people who want to tear apart the traditions that made country music special. Jason shot back, his voice rising. The tension on stage was thick enough to cut with a knife. Kelly leaned forward, her tone firm now. I'm not lecturing anyone. I'm having a conversation about your music I respect. But if what you're saying is that country music has to exclude people to stay pure, then maybe the issue isn't with me. Jason's glare was unflinching. The issue is with people who pretend to understand what they don't. My fans, real Americans, work hard, believe in traditional values, and are tired of being told they're wrong for loving their country and their way of life. The audience was dead silent. The friendly stage had become a battlefield. Kelly's jaw tightened. And what exactly are you implying? Jason, that the people who aren't your fans somehow aren't real Americans, that they don't work hard. That's a pretty broad brush you're painting with. I'm not painting anything, Jason shot back, his tone sharp as steel. I'm stating facts. There's a culture war in this country, and country music is right in the middle of it. You've got people trying to twist it, water it down, make it so safe and politically correct that it doesn't offend anyone, but real country music. It's never been about avoiding offense. The audience was silent now, caught in the gravity of a conversation that had veered far beyond the territory of a daytime TV interview. Even Kelly's staff behind the cameras shifted uneasily, glancing at one another as if unsure whether to intervene. But Kelly herself, though rattled, was beginning to find her footing. All right then, she said firmly, her voice even but laced with resolve. Let's talk about real country music. Because I grew up on Johnny Cash, who sang about injustice and lifting up the poor. I grew up on Dolly Parton, who spent her career fighting for education and literacy. I grew up on Willie Nelson, who's never been shy about his politics. Are you saying they weren't real country artists? Jason's expression hardened, a storm cloud rolling across his face. Don't you dare drag those legends into this, to justify your agenda. Those artists earned the right to speak their minds after decades of creating authentic music that celebrated American values. They didn't sit here and lecture. They didn't shame people for their beliefs. Kelly leaned forward, her composure beginning to crack, fire in her eyes now. And what makes you think that's what I'm doing? Tell me, Jason, what exactly have I said that's so offensive? That music brings people together, that your fan base is diverse. I've been complimenting your reach, your impact, and you're treating me like I've attacked you personally, because you don't get it. Jason's voice rose, thick, with frustration, every time someone like you starts talking about diversity, inclusion, bringing people together. What you really mean is that people like me, and my fans, need to change. You want us to apologize for who we are? You want us to water down what we stand for, just so everyone else feels comfortable? Well, I'm not going to do that. Kelly studied him, stunned by the sheer hostility radiating from across the stage. She had interviewed hundreds of country artists, many with strong political views, but none had ever turned the conversation into a personal attack on her intentions. Her tone softened, almost pleading now. Jason, I truly don't know what you think I want you to apologize for. I invited you here because I respect your work. I asked you the same questions I ask every artist who comes through these doors. If I've said something specific that upset you, something that cut deeper than I realized, then tell me. Say it plainly, because right now, I'm trying to understand. Jason held her gaze, studying her face as though weighing her sincerity. When he finally spoke, his voice was quieter but heavier, more cutting than before. You really don't see it, do you? He said, leaning in. You don't see how condescending everything you've just said sounds. Talking about how my music reaches people from different backgrounds, like that's some kind of miracle. Talking about evolution, about country music wasn't good enough before. Like you're doing me a favor just by letting me sit here. That's the problem, Kelly. You don't get it, and you don't even realize how you sound. Kelly's eyes flashed with restrained anger. For the first time in her career, she felt the ground beneath her role as host shaking. Kelly's anger finally broke through. You know what, Jason? I am doing you a favor by having you on my show. That's literally what this is. You came here to promote your album, to reach my audience, to sell records. I didn't drag you into this chair. You chose to be here. You could have said no. Maybe I should have, Jason replied coldly. Maybe I should have known better than to expect a fair conversation from someone who already made up her mind about who I am and what I represent. Kelly blinked, incredulous. What you represent? She shook her head. Jason, you don't even know me. You've been here less than 10 minutes and spent the entire time attacking me for things I never said and positions I never took. You're the one who showed up with your mind made up. Jason pushed to his feet, the sudden movement sending a jolt of tension through the room. For a heartbeat, Kelly thought he might storm off. Instead, he loomed over her, his face twisted with disdain. This is exactly what I'm talking about, he said, loud enough for the audience to hear every word. You can't even admit what you're doing. You hide behind that fake friendliness, that professional smile, but underneath it, you think you're better than me, better than my fans. You think we're backwards, ignorant, bigoted. You think our values are outdated and need fixing. Kelly stood too, refusing to be dwarfed by him. Her voice was steady, but sharp with outrage. That is completely unfair, and you know it. I've never said any of those things. Never implied them. You're putting words in my mouth just so you can get angry at me for words I never spoke. Jason's face flushed, caught off guard by her accusation. For a moment, he faltered, but then his defensiveness flared. Play the victim, huh? His voice cracked into a near shout. Lady, I don't need to play anything. I'm saying exactly what I believe and what millions of Americans believe, and you can't handle it. You started this the moment you brought up evolution and inclusion and different perspectives. Kelly threw her hands up. Jason, those are normal interview topics. That's what I ask every artist. If asking about your audience and your artistic growth feels like an attack, maybe the problem isn't amidst you. My audience doesn't need to grow, Jason snapped. They don't need to be more diverse or more inclusive, or whatever other buzzwords you want to toss around. They're perfect the way they are. They don't need people like you telling them otherwise. Kelly's eyes narrowed. Her voice dropped to a dangerous calm. People like me. What exactly do you mean by that? Jason, go ahead, enlighten us. He hesitated for a fraction of a second, then doubled down. People who live in bubbles. People who think they know better than the rest of us. People who've never lived the kind of life real country music comes from but feel entitled to lecture us about it. The studio was so silent the hum of the air conditioning seemed deafening. Kelly's crew stood frozen behind the cameras, unsure if they should intervene. Kelly's voice, when it came, was low and cutting. You don't know a damn thing about my life. You don't know where I came from, what I've survived, or what I've had to fight through to sit in this chair. But you've convinced yourself you're the only authentic one here, when all you're really doing is proving how blind you are. Jason let out a bitter laugh. Blind. You're the one who thinks loaded questions are just casual conversation. You're the one who can't see how insulting it is to be lectured about my own industry by someone who's never lived it. Lectured. Kelly's voice rose, her professionalism cracking apart. I asked you about authenticity, and you turned it into a sermon on culture wars. I asked you about your audience, and you acted like I'd insulted them. Every single time, Jason hit you, twisting my words into an attack. Jason jabbed a finger at her. Don't gaslight me. Kelly, I've done enough interviews to know the setup. You ask about authenticity, then you slip in diversity. Then you end with bringing people together. It's the same trick every time. Either apologize for our values, or look like a bigot for defending them. That's not a setup, Kelly shot back, glaring at him. That's called a conversation. That's called treating each other like human beings instead of enemies in some political war. Everything is a political war now, Jason snarled, and people like you made it that way. You can't just let country music be country music. You can't let people like me and my fans exist without trying to fix us, make us palatable for your world. Nobody is trying to fix you. Kelly snapped, her voice cutting through the silence. But if you honestly believe that, a respectful conversation about music is an attack on your existence. Maybe you need to look in the mirror and ask why you're so defensive. Jason stepped closer, his body tense, his posture openly aggressive. I'm defensive because I've watched what happens when people like you get their way. I've seen this industry ripped apart by outsiders pretending they're making it better when all they really want is to make it more like them. Kelly didn't flinch. If anything, she straightened, meeting him head-on. People like me, she repeated, her voice icy. You keep saying that like it means something. So tell me, Jason, what exactly do you think I am? What threat do you think I represent? His glare hardened. You represent everything wrong with this industry. Fake inclusivity, virtue signaling, the obsession with apologizing for success, the belief that traditional American values are something to be ashamed of. Kelly let out a short, humorless laugh. Traditional American values. Toriational American values. Like what? Jason, coming onto someone's show and disrespecting them. Making baseless assumptions about people you don't know. Turning a simple interview into a personal attack. Are those the values you're so proud of? Jason's jaw clenched, his silence, more venomous than words. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, almost seething. You know what your problem is, Kelly? You think because you're successful because you've got the stage, the applause, the cameras, you've got the right to lecture people like me, but you don't. Asterisk people like me, Kelly repeated, her tone dangerously low. You keep saying that as if it actually means something. So tell me, Jason, what exactly do you think I am? What terrible thing do I represent that threatens you so much? You represent everything wrong with this industry, Jason shot back, his voice thick with venom. The fake inclusivity, the virtue signaling, the endless apologies for success, the idea that so-called traditional values are suddenly a problem. Kelly let out a sharp laugh, cold and humorless. Traditional values. Like what? Coming on someone's show and treating them with contempt, making baseless assumptions about people you don't know. Turning a simple interview into a personal attack. Those are the values you're defending. Jason's jaw tightened. He opened his mouth, then closed it again, searching for words. When he finally spoke, his tone was quieter, but more cutting. You want to know your problem, Kelly. You think success makes you right. You think fame makes you wise. And just because people clap when you walk out on stage, you believe it gives you the authority to judge the rest of us. But none of that makes you better. None of it makes you qualified. Kelly's eyes burned. And what makes you qualified to judge me? To come on my show and hurl insults because you don't like the questions I ask. You accuse me of arrogance, Jason, but take a long hard look in the mirror. You've been condescending since the moment you sat down. Condescending, Jason's voice cracked in disbelief. You invited me here to talk about my music, and all you've done is imply that it needs to change, that my audience needs to grow, that country music needs to evolve. How is that not condescending? Because I never said any of that. Kelly snapped, finally losing her composure. You twisted every word, heard only what you wanted so you could manufacture this fight. You didn't come here to promote your album, you came here to make a point. You used my show, and my platform, to do it. Jason's expression flickered defiance, mixed with something almost like regret, but pride quickly hardened it. So what, you want me gone? He sneered. Fine, maybe I should never have expected honesty from someone who can't even face the truth about what she represents. Kelly's hands curled into fists at her sides. The truth. Here's the truth. Jason, you walked onto this stage under false pretenses. You came here with a chip on your shoulder, determined to pick a fight. And you've proven one thing: you're incapable of having a real conversation without turning it into a war. Jason began unclipping his microphone, his movements deliberate. Theatrical victimhood, he muttered with a bitter laugh. That's rich, coming from someone who's been playing the victim this entire time. You started this with your loaded questions and smug assumptions. I started this by doing my job, Kelly fired back. By trying to have a professional conversation with an artist I thought was professional. Clearly, I was wrong. Jason paused, eyes narrowing. You're right about one thing, Kelly, this was a mistake. Coming here was a mistake. Thinking you could have an honest conversation was a mistake. But at least now, everyone sees you for who you really are. Kelly stepped closer, her voice sharp as glass. And who am I? Jason. Go ahead, tell everyone. Jason yanked the last wire free and straightened. His voice cut through the silence of the studio. You're the problem. The smiling face of an industry rotting from within, pretending it, politeness, but underneath it all, you think you're better. You think my fans are backward. You think our way of life is wrong. That's not who I am, Kelly said, her voice steady despite her fury. But I'll tell you who you are. You're so insecure about your relevance, you invent enemies to fight. So desperate to seem authentic, you attack anyone who doesn't fit your narrow mold. And so much of a coward you can't even own what you came here to do today. Jason flushed, then laughed a sharp, joyless sound. Fine, I'll own this. I'm done pretending people like you are on our side. I'm done smiling while you look down on me and my fans. And I'm done acting like you actually respect what I do when we both know you don't. Kelly's voice dropped, quiet but razor-edged. What's sad, Jason, is that I did respect you. I like your music. I was looking forward to this interview, but you were so determined to see me as the enemy that you destroyed any chance of a real conversation. Jason grabbed his jacket. Prejudice, that's what you call it when someone refuses to play by your script, when they won't sit here and nod while you tear down who they are. Nobody's buying that anymore. Kelly, your way of life isn't under attack. Kelly said wearily. Nobody is destroying country music. The only person tearing anything down here today is you. Jason stalked toward the exit, but turned back, the stage lights catching his face. You still don't get it, do you? This wasn't just about us. What happened here? It's happening everywhere. People are waking up. They're not going to stay quiet while people like you dictate what's acceptable. Kelly watched him, her anger tinged with sadness. And what exactly do you think I've exposed here, Jason? Jason smirked. Cruel, not me, you. Everyone just saw what happens when someone challenges your script. They saw the mask slip. They saw the real you. With that, he walked off stage, his footsteps echoing in the stunned silence. Kelly stood frozen for a moment, then turned back to the cameras. She forced a weak smile that never reached her eyes, while she said softly, that was unexpected. I want to apologize to our studio audience, and to everyone watching at home. That's not the kind of conversation we usually have here, and it's not the kind of person I usually am, either. She paused, visibly shaken but forcing herself on. I don't know what just happened. I thought I was sitting down with a talented artist for a normal interview. Instead, it became something else entirely. Sometimes, people bring their own battles into the room, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. But I still believe in what music is meant to be. It's supposed to unite us, not divide us. It's supposed to help us understand each other. I still believe that, and I hope you do too. She glanced toward the empty chair Jason had left behind. I don't know what he hoped to prove today, but I hope he finds the peace he's clearly searching for.